Oh, really? Yeah. Harper scored Cassidy doubled.
Alrighty. If everybody would please stand, I would call this meeting to order for Tuesday, May the 7th. After the pledge, we're going to stand for a moment of silence. John, want to start?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, a moment of silence for our first responders, fire, police, ambulance. And a reminder that on Memorial Day, we will have a small celebration in the park.
Thank you, everybody. Please have a seat. Okay. This meeting is being recorded via Zoom and the recording will be uploaded to YouTube. If there are any Zoom participants, they can, they'll ask to be muted until they have a question, at which time they should raise their hand. But the participants in the room will have the first opportunity to ask questions on items that we're voting on. The board met in executive session prior to this meeting to discuss personnel and legal matters. Another reminder is that we do have the Goshen Fire Department flower sale this coming weekend. Usually it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the Mother's Day flower sale. And there's also just a quick reminder that we're going to be celebrating National EMS Week coming up on May the 20th. And like John said, Memorial Day, we're going to have a celebration over at the park. And the VFW will be joining us for that celebration, that memorial. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Okay, under emergency services, we don't have any reports this evening. And I did mention the Mother's Day flowers. We have no public hearings, no financial report. And we have no minutes to put into the record tonight. So we're going to move to the treasurer's report. So Dave, that would be you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The treasury report is for the weeks April 11th, 2024 to May 2nd, 2024. Our real estate tax collections, EIT collections, insurance dividends from our property and liability insurance, district court rent, and Parks and Rec registrations drove the general fund revenue during the study period. We had general fund expenses, including the annual Malvern Library contribution, stormwater materials, tree removal, monthly pension contribution, and routine operational expenses. We had the capital reserve fund expenditures, including replacement iPads for codes, as well as archiving email history to comply with our right to know requests. That's part of that move to Help Now as our IT vendor. It's been a months-long process. We're glad to have that done. The ARPA fund incurred $135K of expense for a replacement generator. This is in the budget. And just another example of the funds that we were given by the federal government that the board declared should be spent towards sewer residents to offset their rate increase. The sewer capital reserve fund expended $11,000. That was 2 replacement funds for the really big sanitary treatment plant. Any questions on any of the bills?
Dave,
Yes,
can I ask, do you have any idea how much is in the sewer capital reserve fund?
Yes.
Making a motion when you look.
Sure.
While Dave's looking at that, Madam Chair, move that we accept the receipts and approve the expenditures as presented in the expenditure register and summarize in the treasurer's report.
Second the motion.
Thank you. While Dave is looking for that, after he's done looking at that, he's going to tell us how much we've spent in tree removal this year. So the capital reserve, my understanding is, I thought it was around $1.2 billion, but that's going to be kind of put into the general fund for the municipal authority for next year. Is that?
That was just for the purposes of the analysis that to be done.
Oh, I see, I see.
To show all of the sewer funds together. If it was all put together, how quickly without a sewer increase.
Oh,
would
okay.
the entire balance go to zero?
Okay.
So
So is it is it around 1.2 million then?
it's very close.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So 1.2 million on that.
Okay.
Do you want, John, do you want him to go further?
No, that's good.
How much have we spent on tree removal?
It's about $96,000. It's,
How much was budgeted
uh,
for the whole year?
And does that 96 include stuff that we've recharged the sewer?
Yeah, primarily, the majority of that, the vast majority, about 75,000 was actually allocated to when we do right of way, we can charge back for that for liquid fuels funds. So that's why it doesn't show up in the sewer fund.
Okay,
But so 3/4 of that money we hope to get back from our liquid fuels.
oh, okay. You're looking to see how much we have budgeted for it?
Yes.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions regarding the bills today? For this month? I didn't see anything that was out of line that I was concerned about. I do see that we're spending a lot of money with Benoni. That's something for discussion later.
Yeah, the Benoni bills, typically, it's kind of a monthly variance. We kind of act as a bank for them. Most municipalities do. People come in, they do zoning things, permits, stuff like that. We know that they're gonna do work. We act as an escrow, so we put that in a separate account. It doesn't gain interest, but their money is held, and as they expand towards the things that the township requires them to do for Dwayne's department, then we charge them additional monies to make sure that that bank account is replenished, and we pay Benoni up front, and then when we get the money from the resident, we pay ourselves back.
All right. So are there any questions regarding the bills in the room? Are there any Zoom participants tonight, Derek?
Not at this time. Madam
Okay,
Chair.
you'll just let us know. Okay, then, I'm going to go ahead and call the question. Those in favor of paying the bills?
Aye.
Thank you. It's 5 ayes. Thank you. Okay. The next item up for discussion is the continuation of the sewer rate discussion, but, oh, excuse me, the gas pump. I was gonna say, let's do that gas pump, yeah.
Thank you, man. Go ahead, sorry. I'll just
We
make a
had
motion.
90,000 in just for regular tree removal.
For the whole year.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And we're May the 4th, May the 7th today.
Before we start with.
Yeah, I know. So the fuel system, Derek, I guess this is you?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So we had to have this discussion on April 16th. The fuel system is shot at this point. It's been repeatedly shutting down. We've tried to get it repaired, but it just keeps failing. So we were here at the April 16th meeting and brought this up. Unfortunately, we didn't get the numbers for the quotes until very late, so we didn't have them in front of you, but we were estimating around $100,000 that this would cost. There's not many vendors that do it, so we were able to get 2 quotes. We weren't too far off. We have the Heifer equipment came in at $91,000, and we are, based on the quote and based on the need to repair this as soon as possible, we're asking the board for approval from the vendor for $91,000.
Madam Chair, I move that we authorize the purchase of the emergency fuel system in the amount of $91,000 from Hayford Equipment.
Thank you,
I'll second that motion,
thank you.
and I'll ask a question from him.
Go ahead.
Looking at page 2 here, pay for equipment, it seems like there's about 3/4 of the way down the page, monthly fee, site fee, $179 per month, monthly charge, $59 per month, but who is paying that? You see that, in the black, the note in the black
Oh, right here.
monthly, yeah, with the
Monthly
2
site
asterisks.
fee would be $179 per month for Ecos. A monthly charge of $59 per month would be assessed per cellular modem.
And a 5-year term.
And a 5-year contract is required. So how much is the 5-year contract? Is that included in the $91,000? And
Is that a contract for us?
yeah,
Or is that Haver's contract? I don't understand.
So Gasboy is the software, and that's something we actually already use, and I'm pretty sure we're already paying some way, shape, or form a monthly or annual fee on this gas pump. But I think the 91,000 is actually just for installation. But Dave, did Mark talk to you about the specific?
Going to payments now.
Okay,
Is this a situation where we can put, the, 91,000 up to $91,000 amount on it, or are we looking at possibly having to exceed the 91,000? It seems like an oddly even number.
There's a contingency of finding that there is no ongoing cost associated outside of what we normally pay.
sure.
But then we don't know what, one, do we know how much we're paying for the fee now? And two,
I don't know. Basis, I mean, that was 20 years ago when it's done,
Okay,
and I don't pay any software for gas for it.
we don't.
Um,
So this is
Okay.
gonna be a new recurring fee.
You want to try a motion?
I already did.
Can
Well,
we do an
yeah,
amendment to the motion?
The amendment being what?
well, I would like to know whether or not we pay the 179 a month and the 59 a month, and whether, who's going to sign the 5-year contract? Are we signing that? Or is Hafer signing it, or is somebody else signing it?
So let's say that we do have to pay it, what do we do? What's your suggestion?
Well, we need to know for our budgeting purposes.
I understand that. Do we wait another 2 weeks to move forward with it, or?
That's why I asked you to make a motion.
I did make a motion just to do it now, because $159. It seems as if either system is probably gonna have to do some type of,
Recurring fee.
yeah.
All right, let's take taking a moment.
Well, this is sloppy then, that should be in here.
It's not.
I would be good with the $91,000, but I certainly want to know if, at the bottom, the yellow $31,550, it would be irresponsible not to figure out what that is.
It would
Well,
appear in
the equipment is different from the software, so the ongoing monthly is more of the software and cellular modem.
Well, okay.
The $31,000 is a separate thing, and that's through Sourcewell equipment. So I'm pretty sure that's part of the initial cost of the installation, whereas the 179 per month is the ongoing software.
Are you sure enough? Will you take it out of your paycheck if it's extra?
I'm never sure about anything like that. So.
Yeah, God bless you.
Well, I'm looking at the other bid, and on,
I think you're right, I think it is. In the back, it seems to indicate that it's part of the 91,000.
and in the other bid, it states that their software subscription is currently $900 per year. And they have wireless Ethernet in here, but they don't necessarily say that they're paying this monthly fee on our behalf. So,
This solves that question. So I'm good with the 91. I'd still like to know about the monthly fees who's paying, but I'm willing to affirm the motion for $91,000.
okay.
We could do that, we could find that out before we actually move forward with the payment, correct?
We're gonna have to, yeah.
All right, and can you let us know what the monthly recurring fees are gonna end up being, and who's gonna be paying for them, please?
We probably have to pay them
So we have to
anyway.
wait.
Yeah, that.
We should just know,
When will Mark be able to buy it then?
well,
I mean,
we'll
he
give
could
the approval,
buy the equipment.
right? We're
So
gonna,
we can buy the equipment then, but if we don't like the fee,
we don't have a choice,
Yeah.
with the fee.
Okay.
We just need to know what it is.
okay, that's,
And
okay, that's
yeah.
what.
So this is really, so to be clear. So to be clear, we wanna get clarification on this. We wanna know what the recurring monthly fees are going to be. And who's paying them. And we need to know the specifics about the contract, the 5-year contract. But we're also saying that we approve this.
Outside of the proposal, so it's us.
Right.
Okay.
That seems completely separate. This one, so.
On the bottom line of that 3 line, it says, this is paid directly to Gas Boy outside of this proposal. So that sounds like it's paid by us to Gas Boy, and it's not part of this proposal. The way I read that.
And that's where I have a problem, because we don't know, do we know how much that is?
Well, it
That's-
says it's
Well, it says it there.
$179 per month for Ecos and $59 per month for cellular modem. We can control how many cellular modems, I would think.
Yeah, correct. I just don't think there's a way to get this equipment nowadays without having a software fee.
Right,
The fee on the second bid's $900 a year. Flat fee, $75 a month,
19,000 more.
$10,000 a month.
It's 91 to 110. What is the other? Oh, no, one, you're right, I'm sorry.
Right, so other fees, another $100, less than half. So it's likely to stay.
So 1,000 versus a $10,000 total price difference.
All right. Normally, I would say, send it back. Come back in 2 weeks and tell us. But if we need to get this system in place, then we can vote on the 91,000. That's been, it's totally made a motion in a second.
Yep. Okay. All right, does the board have any other questions? Do you have anything that you wanna make a point of? No.
Right.
Okay, Barbara? Good. Anybody in the room have any questions regarding this contract? One up to the, I'm sorry. We especially need to make sure that people come up to the microphone because Jess Wilney is not here this evening in order to do the minutes. She's gonna be viewing the YouTube video. Your name, please. Thank you.
671.
No, that's okay. That's right.
I just want to know what the mode is for, but is it just to monitor it in case of a problem?
So
What's the purpose of that?
the purpose of that is to keep track of, my understanding is the purpose is to keep track of,
It runs the entire software for the gas. I mean, it's called Gas Boys. It's, yeah, exactly. And it tracks the gas and
tracks who's using the gas. So
mileage.
if Derek were to put his card in, then it accepts it. It says Derek is using this today.
It was an emergency type thing, like a voted something.
Emergency vehicles are using
It
this.
does,
Emergency system that said something. That's.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right, there are no people on Zoom, so we'll go ahead and call the question. Those in favor of purchasing this equipment for $91,000 from Kiefer?
Aye.
Say aye. And no opposed. Okay. Moving on. We're going to have more discussion about the sewer rate increase. Potential sewer rate increase. Okay. So,
Where would we like to start?
oh, Dave,
Who said that?
let me add at the end. Let me add at the end. So what I would like to know, Dave, so you said that, these numbers are based on turning the 1.2 million reserve into the general fund. Is that correct?
Yeah, for the simplicity of analysis, I took all sewer operating funds, all sewer reserve funds, put them into one bucket of money and just said, that's how much money we have.
For
So, yes, for all sewer. So when you look at the graph, that's what you're looking at. This is the balance. So the first one, 250,000 a year for pipe relining. When you look at this, this is where our total reserve, the total sewer funds, operating and reserve have been historically. You can see 2012, we were, $1.5 million. Then since 2018, we've been over 2017, we've been just over $3 million. Now projected for this year, we are down to, about 2.7, 2.8. And this is dramatically going to change if we do all of the regular repairs, maintenance, and capital replacement that we have not done for the past 10 to 15, 20 years. So basically, I know there were some questions from the board wanting to look at how much of this increase, say it was $40 or $30 or whatever it was per quarter, how much of that would just go to sit in a reserve fund? Very little of it. So
I'm just wondering if we perhaps should have the reserve money that's currently sitting in that reserve fund pulled out and look at the numbers then. Because I'm afraid that the increases will run out sooner than
absolutely,
what is projected,
absolutely.
which
it
is a
would.
little scary.
But so, if you're looking at.
See, Michelle, you're saying just raise it and then combine it, so we don't have to worry about it. So,
So this is combining all funds from municipal authority.
Right, so right now we put $160,000 a year into the sewer capital reserve. That's it, $160,000.
$160,000.
Plus, since I came in 21, we started putting $130,000 in for relining asbestos cement pipe, which needs replacement. Based on the engineer's assessment from Pannoni, 10 years of the, well, if you did it over 10 years, it's a $6 million bill, and that would be $600,000 a year. I'm only in this estimate advocating for $250,000. That's basically double what we're putting in now. And on top of that, we should also allocate and basically double what we're putting into our capital reserve for. It would come out almost the next year. It's not really going to sit in the reserve. It's all the buying the pumps, the replacement stuff that we should have done for the last 10 years to have the reserve. And now we have 10 years to catch up because almost all of this is going to be basically at its life end as of 2030.
You mean the whole Ridley plant?
The plant, yeah. So there's about $1.5 million in the memo that lays it out. There's about $1.5 million that we have a shortfall currently in total capital assets at the plant. That if things started failing for their life cycle, which myself and Dana Pizarro from the municipal authority validated with other construction and sewer data, we are on the right life cycle and estimated costs. So if that started dropping off, we could see a shortfall of about $1.5 million, which we wouldn't have the funds to do right now. So the increase for the capital portion alone is just to, in 10 years from now, so 2034, by doubling what we have, get to being able to replace all of that within 10 years. If that makes sense.
Yes. Okay, I understand what you're saying. Okay, thank you.
The majority of the increase is for, so about 66% of the increase would be variable costs and relining costs. We haven't done much relining. We have, what is it outstanding now? It's we've got about 19 miles left that need to be, out of 86 miles total, that still need to be relined. The 5-year cost of that would be $1.2 million. 10-year cost is $600,000 a year. And in this projection, I've only got $250,000. So we were only projecting to do about 3/4 of a mile a year, as opposed to what the engineer said, which was about 2 miles a year. And outside of the asbestos, we have all the other pipe, but that has a lot longer lifespan. It's PVC plastic products that could be 30 years, could be 50 years. There's a lot more leeway. So we've got a lot more time on that. But the point basically is to take advantage now to start doing all of these projects that were put off for so long for the relining. So we don't have the Hershey Mill collapses. Those are gonna be $1 to $2 million projects. If we spend $250,000, $600,000 a year to get it done ahead of time, it's maintenance and repair versus catastrophic collapse. So the quicker we can get this onto a long-term schedule, which is why we did the 10-year plan. The MA had me start 2 years ago, start looking at this. It's just how slow you want to do it, because it needs to be done. But looking at a lot of the other townships in the area, in the county, in PA period proper, if you're not looking out further, you're gonna be in a bad situation and you're gonna sell to Aqua or PA Water. It's just whether we do it on our terms or theirs. Because there's a lot of instances, and I have cases in point from New Garden where, you know, they'll say that they'll freeze rates, you know, they're gonna put this much dollars into fixing the system, but then that never really happens. And then they go back to PA Water, and before the contract's done, well, the rates are, now it's not fixed for as long, and now you're doubling and tripling rates within 2 or 3 years. We would prefer to have control of that. I mean, the big point is we don't have it's an enterprise fund. So both our refuse and our sewer, we don't make money on. The goal is to, whatever it costs, people pay into it, and it's a net zero. Now that fluctuates year to year. Obviously with capital costs, you know, it's a balance between long-term sustainability and current politics and economics on the ground, you know, what's happening. So to get that balance, you have to say, well, we want to keep control of it. We don't want somebody to buy it from us. We don't want it to be in disrepair, and we don't want to jack up rates, you know, 300 times. If we didn't have that ARPA money injection, we would have had to have a $40 increase already. So the request, which I believe the MA will probably follow, which is a $40 a quarter EDU increase per quarter, we would already be there. Now, we didn't have to do it because we got $2 million from ARPA. But, you know, to get that much money that fast, rates would have had to go through the roof. And people are going to be surprised, and nobody can plan for it. And that's why we've had these discussions for months. And I mean, ultimately, it's up to the board to what they think that people can sustain and what's fair and how we can bridge this for the long term. But I understand all the points of view, and I'm happy to try and answer any questions you have in particular.
Can you explain that there's the variable rate and there's a fixed rate? Can you explain so that people understand what the difference is between the two, please?
Yes, so the fixed rate is everybody who gets a bill gets the $55.61 as a flat charge. That is for everything that everybody uses. Doesn't matter how much water, everybody's going to use all these parts of the sewer plant, the treatment of the water, everything. Then we have the variable portion, which is $9.70 per 1,000 gallons. So the people who use more water, the higher that rate goes. You charge people who are in a single house with 8 people there using a ton of water. They might use twice as much as somebody who's a single couple still in their house, has an aqua meter, but you know, they use 3,500 gallons a month. The average in the township right now is about 12,500 a quarter.
12,500 gallons.
Gallons, yes.
And
And it's gone down the past 10 years.
you're measuring water consumed.
This is water consumption, yes. And we started in, we take a reading in October 1st. And then we take another reading on March 31st. And
Okay.
those 2 readings from Aqua basically tell us what that average consumption is over the winter months. So it's not taking into effect when people are watering their lawns, filling their swimming pools.
I've been confused about this for a long time, so I'm gonna ask a question or two.
Sure.
One, we don't supply the water, Aqua supplies the water, right?
Correct. Or you were on a spring or a well and you pay $0 to Aqua.
I'm on a well, so I
I
play,
am at my house too.
okay. But Aqua uses us to do the billing, is that essentially what it is?
No, it's. their
Aqua bills,
infrastructure.
Aqua bills separately for water to everybody who's on Aqua Public Water.
And get an
Okay.
aqua bill.
Now, me and my house, I don't have Aqua, I have a well, so I don't pay Aqua. But I use Aqua readings for public water to see how much people have put into our system.
But
So
we
I
do
can
not
read a
own, we,
meter.
just to be clear though, we do not own any water infrastructure. That
Correct.
is all owned and maintained and repaired by
Oh,
Aqua.
Okay, so
But
the
everybody with a meter, we can read it.
variable cost is not for water then, it's for sewer usage.
But it's the
It's-
same, that's
It's
how.
the
we
water
rate
that
it.
goes down the drains, like the toilets and stuff, when you're
I
flushing.
understand.
Yeah,
But you don't know how much I'm using because I have a well.
correct, but our ordinance says that if you don't have your own meter, I charge you what the single family dwelling uses. So,
Or you can get a meter, right?
yeah.
Yeah, you can use-
If
like
you have your own
$800.
meter, we'll read it for you, and then I'll use those to calculate your usage. But if you don't, then I charge you what every average person, which is 12,500 for the quarter.
I guess I'm still not understanding, what are you charging me for?
The use of the sewer system to
Based on,
Clean
Well,
your
it's the
water.
sewer system then, it's not the water.
but it's the amount of water.
based on water usage.
Mhm.
So there's a fixed rate, and then there's how much water do you use, and you're charged $9.70 per 1,000 gallons. So if you use 1,000 gallons, $9.70. You use 10,000 gallons,
So they're
$97.
they're intertwined is what they are. I mean, it's not a perfect science, but water consumption based on the Aqua usage can equal out usually what is going down the sewer system, and that's what we base
Yeah,
it
I
on.
can understand that. The other question I have is, say the $20 a quarter increase.
yes,
In real dollars, how much is that going to bring in to the municipal authority or to us?
so. let's see.
Eric and I are just checking our phones to make sure that there's no Zoom people who are trying to get in. Nope,
So $20 a quarter would bring in an additional about $530,000 of revenue.
530,000.
Mhm.
And it will be proportionate then for the other amounts.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
and that's which increase?
20. 23.
So if you think about the capital reserve being, needing to have more equipment every year because we haven't done it, and we do it not in 5 years, but in 10 years, we're at about a $1.5 million funding gap between what we should already have in the bank. That's kind of the way that I'm looking at it is, we should already have an additional $1.5 million in the sewer reserve fund to fund everything at that plan
10 years from now.
right now, today.
What have we not funded at that point?
It depends on how old it is and what the pump is, or whether it's a building, was it the old building, is it a container, a tank, a pump? Is it one of the pump stations?
How much money should we have in that reserve account in 10 years?
Well,
Just
right
a guesstimate.
today, we should have
Today, we should have how much?
3.3.
Today, we should have 3.3 in the reserves.
Yeah, we have,
And how much should we have in 10 years? To replace everything?
Based off of which increase.
you should
Just
still
not
have,
based off of any particular
you should
increase,
have that 3.3
plus,
plus whatever annually, just to keep that going, which is probably, based on what I've done, is another 170,000.
per year.
It's not that much more because you'd be spending money in the minute.
Correct. It's kind of a logarithmic algorithm.
Oh, that makes it simpler. Thank you.
All right, so like 160,000 times, yeah, it's
Honestly,
gonna be like,
it depends on what your inflationary
Right.
rate is. I mean, I'm putting
Okay.
into my calculations 5%.
okay,
Because if you're looking at what it costs to. Well, CPIU is loaded, so it could be, that's different than the construction index. Construction index is always higher. You've got skilled labor, you've got materials, things that can go up 10% instead of 2%, right? So even if you use 5%, which is what I'm using, we should probably be putting away twice as much just to get done in 10 years where we should already be today. And that's not building a reserve, that's saying this is gonna be used next year, and as soon as it comes in, it's
Goes
going right into the plan.
okay.
So that we don't have any of these issues, or, you know, God forbid, we have to do bypass pumping or something, I mean, we're talking $50,000 a day.
Okay.
And this
So
is
that
very,
doesn't happen.
this is very different than, there's a lot of different sewer systems, so it's not a spray irrigation system, those are lagoons. They don't have the tanks that we do, they don't do the processing that we do. We're not as affected by rainfall, we have a lot more control, we have the internal SCADA systems, I mean, there's $300,000 worth that we probably are already due to redo our control system. So there's a lot of things, and luckily the MA looks at those every month. And they check all of our levels. The DEP could crack down and ratchet down the nitrogen or phosphorus levels, and I haven't quantified that to see how much that would cost us in addition to what I've already put out.
All right. Do you have any other questions?
No.
Peter, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions, Barbara, Tony?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. I'm gonna say this, the same meeting every single time. We have three options. We can raise rates, sell to Aqua, or take bonds, and it looks like we're gonna have to raise rates. And at this point, I'm just gonna throw a dollar figure out there. $30 a quarter increase is something that I think would make the most sense at this point. Which is $120 a year, we'd start this in January, correct? Or we start this in
Starting
June?
in July.
Starting in July.
The July bill, that'd be Q3. The thing to remember too is we do utilize Public Works, which is cheaper than a third party. We also don't add on the 10% to our bottom line, so we save the 10% right off the bat, because it is a municipal authority. And it's really, from what I've read about other townships that have sold, the residents wish that they would have had something explained to them early to say, hey, if you can do this, then we won't get to that situation. And this has been very well, from what I've seen since 2021, operated, very well managed. The only thing is we haven't put as much money away as we probably should have.
I can tell you right now that my kid is paying over $300 a month for his sewer. That's just the sewer, and it's because it's owned by Aqua, over $300 a month.
We would completely lose rate control. It wouldn't go to a board, it would go to their board of executives and shareholders.
One thing too, I'd like to add on top of that then is, and I know we talked about this last meeting, but whatever the rate is, I'd ask that we send a letter out like we did for the millage increase, and then also include the amount that other townships paid, because I think based on the graph we provided last time, even with an increase, we'd still we're in the middle compared to all the other townships. in
Even
Chester
if we
County.
would be, and this would basically put us to where we would have been if we did not use the ARPA money.
3 years ago or 2 years ago.
2 years, 2.5 years ago, yeah. But also it's kind of interesting because a lot of the ones that are on the graph are in that 2 to 3 year holding pattern, like East Whiteland, where they haven't raised the rates yet. As soon as they do, that's at least a 40% increase.
They haven't raised them because they're in that negotiation period with Aqua where nothing can be raised.
Well, no,
For now.
they
until
already took over, and it's a matter of,
They can go back to the PUC though, at any
Correct.
time. And get that adjusted.
All right, well, $30 unfortunately is where I'm at. I throw a number out there for discussion purposes.
Thanks, Kevin. Does anybody else want to make any comments on the board?
Um,
John?
Yeah, I look at the bottom is invisible in that room, I see. What we have is the dark blue is no rate increase at all. And that's the lines, especially in ensuing years that drop way below the break-even line.
And quickly, I mean, we're in 27, 28.
Yeah.
We're already.
That's not acceptable. That's the no rate increase, unfortunately, is not acceptable. I don't like the fact that the purple, the $40 quarter increase actually sustains money all the way through 2033. I would rather wait a couple years and see if we have to adjust again. So I'm either $20 or $30, and I'll go along with the group $20 or $30 increase.
You made a good point about I think Michelle may have mentioned earlier too about reevaluating this at a different time too.
And I think you can compare this one versus the next slide there if you want for the purple line, just to give it perspective. If we did what the engineers recommended, you're not gonna see that spike like it does on the 250. The fact that we've been putting 130 away was a Mark Miller suggestion, I think in 2018. It wasn't done by my predecessor, but when I came in, we started to do it. And the first project we did is the Chester Creek Interceptor, and it costs double that.
I don't disagree with your numbers.
Yeah, it's just how fast or slow we want to do it.
Yes, and I think it has to be done. I just sympathize. We have people in the township for whom this is gonna be a hardship.
Sure.
And I always want to be sympathetic to that concern.
Absolutely. And that's part of the reason why we're looking at a general impact per household, but really my work begins when I get the direction that, yes, it's $30. How do you work that out? And that's going to be the flip between variable and fixed. So that it goes more on the people with more people. You have a bigger house, you're spraying it on your lawn, you've got all this stuff, then obviously your share should be larger. That's where the equity comes in. And that was the thing they did a long time ago. I looked at all of the stuff that John had done before, and it was really bending over backwards to try and be as fair as possible, which is why they did fourth quarter. First quarter, nobody does this.
Dave, when we actually do have a vote for an increase,
Yes.
do we want to tie in as part of the motion? Are you looking, or is the authority looking for guidance as far as the pipeline relining? I mean, I know you're giving this as examples for the pipe relining for specific annually, whether it's 250, 600, somewhere in the middle. Are we going to be looking to tie that into the motion as far as guidance?
I could certainly do that, yeah.
I just think it's a good thing to sort of put out there as far as, okay, this is why, part of the reason why the number is going up, we're going to tie it into whatever we come up with it.
I wouldn't fix it in language so that you can't use it for one thing or another, because as great as it sounds to tie an annual sewer increase to COLA, say.
Not legally tie in now.
No,
Yeah,
but as great as that sounds to, well, what is the cost of living? Well, let's just increase it by that.
Yeah.
Okay, but then you have a Hershey Mill and you need $1 million. That's not gonna do it.
Just like a,
That flexibility.
motion of a $30 increase with the annual goal to do blank.
Sure, yeah, and I could do the split between the
Yeah.
capital increase as well as the pipe relining.
Thank you.
One last question, sorry, Madam Chair. When was last year, or when was the last time rates were raised for sewer and trash? Was 2021? 22.
And before that, it was 2012 or.
They did a small one, 2019, and before that, it was just a flip flop between, there wasn't a trash increase, but there was a flip flop between variable and fixed rate, which basically kept it flat. So it's been flat for a long time.
It was flat for a long time, then 2019 needed a little bump.
Yeah.
Okay. Barbara, do you have any comments or no? I have to say that unfortunately, looking at these numbers, I am leaning toward probably $30 rate increase, unfortunately. Unless I can be convinced.
You want to talk at all about trash as well? I did reach out to other finance directors in the area, and well, everybody's having the same issues.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking at ways to look at their own contracts, leverage, partnerships if we can, with council government, but as it currently stands, the ones that I reached out to, they're already paying probably 10% more than we are for trash. And if we do rebid, it's a minimum of 10%. And the escalators that they're seeing is a 10% per year rather than.
This is gonna, we are gonna have this on the May 21st agenda. So
Okay,
given that
yeah.
this isn't on the agenda, I don't want to get too far in
That's
the
okay,
weeds,
but
but
that's
it'll-
another consideration that we're looking at as
Yeah.
well. We don't have a motion at this time. This is just simply discussion.
I just want direction if you
I
think.
don't think we need a
say
motion
$30
tonight.
is something that the majority of the board wants me to look into, then I could cut the numbers for that.
So I was just gonna say, I don't think we need a motion tonight. I think what we need is, if that's the guidance by the board, I think we need to hone in on these graphics and with the next kind of presentation, we could hone in on that specific number and we can get guidance off of the $30 if the board is amenable
Yeah,
to.
my plan would be to come back with, after that direction, to come back and show specific neighborhoods, average usage. I can pull,
Well, okay,
multifamily versus, single family dwellings and see what that
Yeah,
would
Okay.
do.
but I think that's gonna be at the June meeting, because we're gonna talk of trash at the May meeting, and then the June meeting, you're probably gonna need more time to get that
And
data.
the latest.
I'm tired of you guys talking trash.
So
The
I'm
latest June
gonna
meeting.
say,
June
so Cody said so 30 does not lock us into anything except for simply helping you hone down on the more exact figures.
Yes,
Okay, so at this time, Cody said you were 30, I said I'm 30, Barbara, you're around 30, Peter's 30. So you've had your direction, John?
thank you.
Okay, all right.
Thanks,
So
Dave.
more on that, this is a lot of work. Thank you very much, and
Sure,
thank you for trying to keep it fair to all of our residents.
absolutely.
And we will have public comment in a few minutes. Next up on our list, we're not taking a vote on this tonight. This is not something that is locking us in. Discussion of Senate Bill 1126. So Derek, do you want to
Yes.
summarize that real quick?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we just did have the PA State Association of Township Supervisors Conference,
Thanks for coming, Dana. We appreciate it.
also known as PSATS. We did have that conference annually in Hershey every April. As I say in the memo, we usually don't run back here and put something on the agenda that we get from that conference, although it's a very good conference. It's attended statewide by many supervisors, staff. We did have a particular issue come up in that conference that we thought should be put forth by the board and see if we want to take action. And that is a bill that is circulating in Harrisburg right now. It is known as Senate Bill 1126. So SB 1126, what it would do is it would take away certain zoning controls from municipalities. Specifically, we have at the township level the ability to control where single-family homes go, where duplexes go, where commercial properties go, where residential properties go. It's basic principles of how zoning operates in the Commonwealth. This bill, and this is all in the name of trying to get more affordable housing, if that's how it's being framed. It would essentially require municipalities to allow mobile homes, manufactured homes, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, anywhere that a zoning district has for single family homes. So wherever we would allow single family homes, we would have to allow these particular types of residences. There's some more things that go in with it. Now, this is also dependent on population. I think we might not be required to have the fourplexes because of our population. So there is some nitty gritty I didn't get into in this memo. It definitely restricts our ability to also, when you're talking about area and bulk setbacks and things like that, it hinders our ability to have an impact there as far as planning for our township. So this was pretty alarming to many people at Hershey because of the nature of taking away a big piece of how we plan going forward in all municipalities in the Commonwealth. So we just thought we'd take it back to the board, see if there was any thoughts. Our initial thought was to at least write a letter to the sponsor, co-sponsors, people in the Urban Affairs and Housing Committee, and then our local representatives to just tell them that we would be opposed to it, I'm assuming, given the powers it takes away from the townships. So this is for discussion right now, and if the board wanted to make a motion to direct me to do anything, they could, but we just, again, just thought it was important enough to put that out there.
Thank you, Derek. So I am going to say, I like the fact that we're going to discuss this, probably not too terribly long, but we already provide for zoning locations for all types of housing that are enumerated in this Senate House, in the Senate bill, excuse me. The problem is that they're going to, what this does is it dictates that we don't have a choice. So basically, all of the planning that has been done in this township is out the window and anything goes. So we're trying to make sure that we maintain control of where we're allowed to put the types of housing that we have planned for in this township for decades.
And I think one of the important things I forgot to mention was it does nothing as far as price control for these. So, I mean, we've all seen duplexes and triplexes that are not considered affordable in Chester County. So just because you put a duplex where single family doesn't make it affordable. So there was a lot of discussion around the fact that this seems more like a push for builders to be able to do different things versus actual affordable housing. So that's probably as big of a point as the zoning one.
Yeah, that's the point I was just getting ready to speak to, was this, it does nothing to
Your
ensure,
microphone on?
yes,
Good.
this does nothing to ensure actual affordable or accessible housing. It just gets control, takes control from the township and gives it to the builders to do whatever, and they can build things that cost $750,000 and call them a duplex, and that is not affordable.
You don't think that's affordable?
No, I do not think it's affordable,
It's getting there though.
not for some.
I agree with you, 100%. I think this is, the state trying to grab, zoning, provisions, and, I think we should keep them here in East Goshen. On top of that, I'll speak, in favor of East Goshen. While we have some huge houses, we also have a large number of, apartments in the township that are, I don't know if they're affordable or not affordable, but they're certainly available for people to come. I don't think we need the state to come in and tell us what we need to do.
I would be ready tonight to vote on drafting a letter, both, you know, as you stated there.
Would you like to make the motion to do that? Yeah.
Yes.
You can do that.
Okay,
By all
Madam Chair,
means.
I move we authorize the township manager to draft and send a letter to the aforementioned individuals to express our opposition regarding Senate Bill 1126.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And are there any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I just have one quick question. Ironically, if you look at those who introduced the bill,
Yes.
I can say this because I'm a Republican. We have a couple Republican senators on there that are builders and realtors. So I'm sure they love this
Yes.
bill. Thank you.
Thank you for comment.
I was also in attendance for voting for the business section of BSETs at Hershey, and it was roundly discussed and shot down by everyone in attendance. And it's because of exactly what's been laid out by this board. They have the exact same sentiments. We're taking, it's anathema to the Commonwealth, really.
Right. I would like to add a friendly amendment that we include PSATs as getting a copy.
Sure.
So if that's okay.
And I was going to
Thank you.
individually give the board the draft copy in case you have any feedback for me on my draft.
Thank you. Are there any comments here on the board regarding this? Are there any comments or questions in the room? And we still have no Zoom participants, so I'm going to call the question. Those in favor of sending a bill, an opposition letter regarding Senate Bill 1126, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I would just like to make a comment that anybody in the room would also be invited to send a letter to our representatives or with the opposition to the same.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good point.
All right. We are coming down to the last of things, the meeting schedule for the rest of 2024. So this is something administratively Derek usually handles. We don't normally have to have a vote. It's just a matter of board direction, so.
Yeah, I just wanted board input because I've had a couple of conversations, not only with board members, but internally. Everybody's sort of, where are we the rest of the year with meetings? It is inevitable every year. Most municipalities do have to change some things around. So this year, I guess the big highlights I will show is the July and August meetings are the only meetings that month. And we did that last year, I think pretty successfully because summer's a little bit slower. People are on vacations. And then the other changes came from a discussion late last year was possibly moving up the December meeting to sort of have it away from the holiday or multiple holidays at the end of December. So in moving that to the second week of December, you inevitably affect November because they have to be spaced correctly for preliminary budget advertisement. So I guess those are the big highlights. And then the only other thing I would add is we do have that third meeting that we could have October 29th in case we are at a standstill on budget. We're having issues discussing the budget. Knock on wood, it goes smoothly, but you never know. So this is just for board consideration. And if you give me some input, I will we'll put that on the calendar this week as far as how we proceed the rest of the year.
Okay. Barbara, did you want to make a comment?
I did want to make a comment that I would recommend, well, I'm fine with the single meeting in November and December, sticking with the third. It's a week before Thanksgiving and a full week before any of the Christmas or Hanukkah holidays. And it is consistent. And I think that especially when we're talking about budget, to have a consistent meeting date for public is really important. That consistency of third Tuesday, first Tuesday or third Tuesday. I would hate to see such an important topic be shifted to a week where people may not be expecting it. Unless we did it at the very beginning of the year, let's say January, so maybe for 2025. But for 2024, I would want to stick with our regular schedule, just perhaps eliminating unnecessary.
So that would be November 19th and December 17th, just so I get on record.
Okay, Cody, did you want to say something?
I would support that because I have a standing commitment on the second Tuesday of every month for church. But I'd also like to throw in there that we remove the June 4th meeting.
Okay. Peter, what would you like to do?
I'm fine with either one.
Okay, John,
I agree on the June 4th.
so let's agree to the June 4th. Okay. And I guess the question is then, do we do the meeting on the second or the third Tuesday of November and one in December?
But,
So it would be the 19th, Thanksgiving is the 25th.
yeah, I agree with Barbara. My concern is we may need meeting dates, work on the budget. We did last year.
Well,
So
that's that extra on the 29th
Of October.
Of all,
Yeah.
My recollection is more than.
or we add the 1st of December.
Oh, no, well, first,
We
just
cannot.
to clarify, we have 3 meetings in September, and we're gonna be discussing the budget heavily in September and October. Last year, we only had a preliminary budget passage, and then we had the meeting in December, so we didn't have any extra in between.
We're on.
But if we did shift it down to the 17th and really got in bad shape, we could add the first week of December meeting to John's concern.
Okay, we would have to, re-advertise it.
No, we would have, no, because,
It's a first.
Is what's
well,
already
you're advertising it for passage on the 19th, not for first
Okay,
meeting in December.
on the 17th instead of the 10th.
Okay.
So you're okay with moving it then to the 19th of November and the
17th of December, and then eliminating June
Yeah.
4th. and
eliminating
then
June 4th?
I'll get Ashley to put
But-
this on the calendar.
But we're also not canceling any of these sunshine dates. Every single Tuesday has been sunshined.
You only need
so-
24 hours to call a meeting, so I mean, just for
Yeah.
purposes of letting everybody know, you can always have a meeting whenever you need it,
Sure,
even if it's not on a Tuesday.
sure.
And we're looking at June 18th for the long range plan,
Correct.
which is basically our budget kickoff.
which is a good, actually probably a good meeting to have a sewer increase discussion. But
Okay, so Peter, you're okay with doing the third? Uh, for November and December, you're okay with it? You're okay with it? Okay, okay, and then eliminating June 4th. So,
Okay.
yeah, so you'll have our direction
Yep.
to,
we will,
Do
yeah,
that.
I'll do that. Thank you.
okay, and standing issues.
So we have the Milltown Dam project. They are actually starting restoration next week with seeding and strawing, so that's pretty much complete. It went really well. I think everybody thinks it went well with flyway excavation. It's not gonna look like it's complete because we already started down there doing the trail that we proposed a couple of months ago, I think at this point, although I'm losing track of time already this year. But yeah, so our guys are down there doing the internal work that we specified in that meeting. That is also going well, so we are trucking along down there. And yeah, everything's going according to plan
Okay,
right this second.
great. That's terrific. Are there any other matters that need to be brought forward? Um, all right, so under any other matter, I'm going to,
I'll mention one thing.
Go ahead.
After the board approved the ARPA expenditure for the sewer fund, we still have basically about $32,000 left of ARPA money. I'll finalize the final. I did the report this year before April 30th, and then we'll have one more for next year, but we will be free and clear, and that money is basically 100% from interest. And we can use that for anything other than debts, paying off your debts or paying towards a pension plan. So that's something that Derek and I were talking about, possibly having consideration with the board if there's something particularly we need to spend that
Yeah.
money on.
So I think we were thinking about having that in the May 21st meeting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds good.
okay.
Yep.
Under any other matter, I'm going to ask that the board considers, consider putting out an RFP for engineering services. While Prononi has been, with us for a while, I think it's been a very long time since we've put anything out to bid to see if they are in fact in line with their pricing. So, I don't
This
know.
would be just for the board and the township, right? Not the municipal.
That is correct. Yeah, that is correct, because we do have a Pannoni engineer with the municipal authority, and he's very attentive and he's right on it. And the municipal authority is a separate board, so we can't really just change them without their input. But as far as township services are concerned, would there be support to ask staff to move forward to get some RFPs from other engineering firms?
I think that, Mark, if you could jump in here, but the way I would like to proceed with that is if the board is okay with me writing an RFP, I could bring it to a future meeting, next meeting or the meeting after that, get it approved in a public meeting, and then we can distribute it accordingly to firms.
But it would be okay to get a consensus this evening.
Oh, yeah.
For the direction
Right.
for staff.
Board doesn't want to move forward with it now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so would there be support? Does anybody else have an interest in making sure that we're in line with our pricing for engineering services? Peter? Are you okay
Yeah.
to move forward with at least directing staff?
Yeah, with revenue behind, I'm fine with looking at any option.
Thank you. Okay, so you have our
Yep.
support to put together an RFP, and then we can
We'll look at that.
look at it in a
Yep.
public meeting in the future.
Mhm.
Are there any public comments? Anybody in the room have any questions or comments to make this evening? Okay, seeing none, liaison reports, I don't think there are any correspondence. Toby. Do you want to?
I didn't know if you,
Oh, do you have a report?
just briefly, I
Great.
think that, wanted to report on both Pipeline and ESAC. Pipeline is staying on top of Mach 2, going to a number of listening sessions, which are billed as community awareness, and they're really more propaganda, but they're paying close attention and staying on top of that. And I just thought this board and township would want to know that's related to the hydrogen hubs and carbon capture. They also were asked to weigh in on, and they sent it back to on the potential pipeline issue for the selling of for the new homes that have been proposed in the shared development that
Morstein Road?
Morstein Road, that there are pipelines underneath there that are labeled as not being in use, but perhaps could be used for future use. And there's the potential that where the pipelines are, there may not be adequate weight to support emergency vehicles. So that's something we just need to pay attention to as we're having those discussions, and that it may cause some residents in the case of an emergency or a pipeline collapse not to have an egress. So, so I just think it's something we need to stay on top of, and that your pipeline committee is attuned to that as well. In terms of ESAC, they're continuing with their visits to businesses, which you're all aware related to encouragement for a reduction in single-use plastics. And they have had really good responses with going into multifamily dwellings in terms of talking to management to offer education and resources for potential enhancement of recycling for multi-use dwellings, to add to what they're already doing at things like Community Day to educate single-family homes. And they're in conversation with Jason about being a resource for education for summer camp.
Okay, great.
So I just thought, great.
Marty, this is for you too. They were actually also doing some plantings right outside this area. I'm putting that under their budget for the materials and things. I don't know what was discussed in the meetings as far as that, if they know that or not, so. Hopefully they listen to that, so you can pass it along.
I'll pass it on.
But,
Dave was my liaison report. I don't wanna have to rehash the municipal authority stuff.
Yeah.
And, just a reminder about the flower sale for Goshen Fire Department and the Veterans Day, celebration, we'll call it. And, hopefully you'll all come out and see the Marple Newtown Community Band next Tuesday night. It's the first concert of the year, so hopefully we'll see you all. Cody, do you want-
Very quick liaison report, Madam Chair, the Conservancy Board provided comments for the Morseine Road
Okay,
development, and when we do have that on the agenda, I'll make sure the board members have that.
perfect, thank you.
But I would like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Second motion.
There we go.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much for coming, everybody.